So, hello. This is a pretty big one. I finally got it. Both versions. Just picked up the vinyl one today from the record store. I'm not gonna do an unboxing because you've already seen it. So, this is gonna be my review of the first 4 discs of the Feel Flows box set by the Beach Boys. You might wonder why I'm doing this in 2 parts and separating the 5th disc on a separate video. Well, the reason is we have so much stuff on this thing and I don't wanna be like too fast and go just through everything superficial. So I'm not going to talk about each individual track one by one, but I'm going to talk a lot about some of the tracks in detail. So it's just gonna be way too long if I include everything into one video. So the 5th disc is titled Bonus Disc and it has a lot of incredible stuff, or interesting stuff at least, by Dennis Wilson. I cannot say it's incredible because I haven't yet listened to the 5th disc. I have only listened to the first 4 discs a few times, actually. Not everything, but most of the unreleased stuff I have listened now at least a few times. So with all that said, let's go straight into it. I don't have a script here. I only have the track list of the vinyl. Actually, by the way, just realized this doesn't work because the track list here is different than on the CD one, and I want to review the CD one, so I'm gonna have to make a switch over here. Okay, sorry for that. Maybe you didn't even notice anything. So let's go straight into it. It opens up with the Sunflower album, and the disc 2 has the Surf's Up album, and they sound just as great as they have always sounded to me. I should compare them to the original pressings. I have actually 2 copies of both albums on vinyl already, so I now have both of these albums 3 times, which probably isn't nothing compared to some of the hardcore fans who probably own it on every format 5 times. So anyway, both albums, Sunflower and Surf's Up, they are great. They sound spectacular on this set. But what is really interesting is the live stuff that they included after each album. So let's first talk a little bit about the Sunflower live tracks. They have This Whole World from 1988, and it's really incredible. It rocks really hard. Carl sings a few words a little bit differently. There's a few different words to the lyrics, and it's great. I always loved this song. It's super short. They do it here on the concert pretty much as it is recorded, so it's fast, it's short, and it's a very underrated track in a way because it never was a hit or anything. It's very much appreciated by the fans, but nobody else really knows it, which I think is a shame because it does so much within that 1 minute and 50 seconds, much more than a lot of 5-minute pop rock songs. So yeah, I always loved the track, and I love the message of it, even though some people might find it a bit corny or naive or something, but I think it's really beautiful, and I completely get the idea behind it. I love it. I think it's great, and like I said, the live versions on this set to me are kind of spectacular because to be honest, I haven't really listened to that much of the Beach Boys booted live stuff, so I only really know the official releases that they've put out, and well, we'll talk a little bit about that later more, but the 73 released, is it In Concert or Beach Boys Concert? I think it's In Concert. that album with Dennis on cover. While it's amazing, I love that period of the group, and I love that stuff. I love the set lists that they did during that period, and I love Blondie and Ricky. But as much as I love that album, it sounds a little bit muddy, and hearing these live tracks from different eras, like this one from the 80s, late 80s, and then Add Some Music to Your Day from 93, and some stuff from late 70s or mid 70s, and then a few tracks even from 1970 and 71. They all sound super crystal clear to me, very crisp, like they were recorded yesterday, and it just makes me so hopeful for a future release with the live stuff, because there has to be tons of this stuff. And something that I'm really, not to go too far from the subject, but what I'm really excited about is the 2012 concerts. I would love to get a hand on those shows someday, without any of that auto-tune crap. So yeah, but anyway, let's continue. So Add Some Music to Your Day from these unplugged shows from 93 that they did. I think they were promoting the Good Vibrations box set. Correct me if I'm wrong. The 30-year anniversary box set. 93 is the year I was born, so my memories from that era are a little bit blurry, but I think I remember it being that way. It's really great. It's incredible to me to hear how tight and just in general how good they sounded, even in the 90s live. Even though I feel that they lost a lot of energy when Dennis died in 83, and they kinda lost their edge or edginess and their speed and that power, all that stuff kinda just disappeared after he passed away, mostly at least. But especially these ballad type of songs, they were still capable of pulling off really, really nicely. And like this version over here, it sounds almost just as great as the original studio version from like 27 years later, almost 30 years later or something. It's no 23 years later. Yeah, well, 20 years later. My mathematics have always been kind of whatever. But still, I mean, they sound so great. Even without Brian, this Carl is just... I think his voice just got better and better through the years. And in the 90s, he really was like at the top of his game. His voice is so incredible on the 90s recordings, live and studio. But anyway, then we have a few oddballs here, Susie Cincinnati and Back Home, which I know both originate from the Sunflower Sessions, but I feel it a little bit weird that they are here. Maybe I will take them as a sort of tease, because I really love the 15 Big Ones and Love You era, so I really hope that we hint for, if somebody from the know is listening, a hint for you, please do a box set like this from that era. Pretty please, I really want that. Anyway, it's just, to me, it's a bit weird that they included them here. Susie Cincinnati, I talked a little bit about this on my previous video. It's an okay track. It's a fun listen, but to me the lyrics are a bit weird because they remind me of something completely else than like what it's supposed to be. So, I don't know if you know what I mean, but to me it just sounds a bit weird. And then Back Home, well, I've always loved this song, and it's fun to hear the 76 Brian singing it. I am one of the rare people who actually love his voice during this period. it's so different from the young Brian, the classic sound, but you know, it's how things go. You know, people grow up and there's changes in their bodies and changes in their voices, and for good and bad. That's what happened with Brian, and his voice changed a lot. And I completely get it if a lot of people don't or they find it like a shame or a sad thing what happened with his voice. But I've grown to appreciate each of these eras separately. So to me, it's not like I don't feel that way, but I completely understand the people who do. But then we get a few really great ones. It's About Time live from '71. We already got It's About Time live from '73 on the Made in California box set. I listened to both of them back to back just a few hours ago. I think the '73 one is a little bit edgier, but this one has a lot more this like oomph. It's just it has that power. I don't know if what that really is about. To me, it feels like there's more people maybe playing on stage on this '71 version. I'm not sure. I haven't like done any analysis on this, but it's just my reaction to it. It feels like there's more power and more like just more of this like sound coming right at ya. And anyway, both of these versions from the '73 concert and the '71 I love. I love the studio version of It's About Time as well, but a lot of these Beach Boys pure like rocker songs make me always think about like how they used to do them live and then how they recorded them on studio. Like Marcella is a really great example. It really makes me wonder if they would have been more appreciated on radio back then, especially in the early '70s, if they'd recorded more stuff on studio in the vein of All I Want to Do, for example, where the studio version really rocks. Because a lot of these rockers that they have, like for example, Got to Know the Woman or It's About Time from Sunflower, they just, even This Whole World, they feel kind of tamed on the studio itself, and then when they did them live they kind of just let it all out, and there's this energy that isn't really on the studio versions. So yeah, that's a thought that I a lot of times have listening to these studio recordings, because I feel that a lot of times Beach Boys are not considered or were not considered hip enough because they weren't considered rock enough. So even though I think that's like completely just bogus, because they were most definitely capable of doing very hard rocking stuff, but they just usually prefer to maybe gravitate towards a different type of sound. And sometimes like the stuff that they did with ballads during this era is pure perfection. By the way, I forgot completely the artwork. I was supposed to talk a little bit about it in the beginning of this one. I love it completely. It was made by Carson. I don't, yeah. Anyway, I know the guy, he's on Instagram. I don't remember his account right now, but anyway, if you're watching this, good job. It's a really nice cover, and I really love it how it works perfectly with the Smile session, or the the original Smile artwork. But with the Smile sessions box set, they go hand in hand really well, and I love how it's flipped. The colors on the titles. So where in Smile you had the orange album title, and then on the Feel Flows you have orange band name and blue album title, so that's cool. And it reminds me a little bit about the Endless Summer cover as well, but it's just not as creepy. But anyway, that's all about Endless Summer right now. Let's continue. Riot in Cell Block number 9, really great track. I love that. And we'll talk a little bit more of it later. Then let's see. Yeah, we got Breakaway, Celebrate the News, Loop de Loop, San Miguel, Two Can Play. Or Games Two Can Play. This is an interesting track by songwriting genius Brian Wilson and a lyricist genius Brian Wilson, including such lyrics like top-notch lyrics like "I'm fat as a cow, and in the morning I'm Mr. Businessman." I really love this tune. I think it's a really fun track, and it has this weird like underlying sadness to it, probably because of the lyrics, especially the "I'm fat as a cow" part. It's like it's, I mean, it's funny, but at the same time it's really sad. It's an interesting track, and I really love the upbeatness of it. And it's not really like an unreleased track at this point, but it's just such a oddball. But I always loved it. I think it's cool. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Then we have Cotton Fields, and it bugs me that this recording has those little clicks, especially like at the end part, the latter part. There are those, I'm not sure what you call them, like tape clicks or something, like these high-pitched sounds, and it really bugs me. So yeah, it's a fun song, but that's pretty much it. We'll talk. I'm gonna talk if somebody like wonders why I'm going through of some of these songs like so fastly or not mentioning them. I'm doing right now like full album review series of the Beach Boys, pretty much chronologically, and so that's the reason why I'm not talking about the Sunflower or Surf's Up albums in general, like in this video, or the tracks that have been released on 2020 or these albums or some other albums, because I'm gonna be talking about them later in some point, some other video more. So anyway, then we go to the Surf's Up material on disc 2. We have the actual album, which is top notch. We have a few promos there, like we had with Sunflower, and they're kind of funny, like Surf's Up, a brand new album by the Beach Boys. The critics said that the Sunflower album was great. Well, Surf's Up is even better. They're kind of funny. But yeah. Then we have the live stuff, out of which I think the most interesting is surprisingly Take a Load Off Your Feet. And for me, this was a revolutionary track to hear, because I have I'm not sure where it is, but I have somewhere the lyric sheet like that came with the album. And it has the lyrics going a certain way to this track. There's a part, and dusty old saunas too. And I was always like, well, that makes no sense. But same time I was super happy that the Beach Boys are singing a word, the only Finnish word that has ever like translated or traveled into another language, which is sauna. That's a Finnish word. So I was like, yay, my country is mentioned kinda here. But now that I heard the live version over here, I was like, what? The lyrics don't go at all like that. Alice actually singing about yoga poses or yoga asana. So that's pretty that's pretty revolutionary to me. But anyway, this track live here, this is like so great. I believe it's Mike Meros playing the organ here, but correct me if I'm wrong. But the organ on this track is so blissful. It's just the energy over there. And it's so fun. There's like these organ fills that come in and out after like lines of vocals, and Carl really sings at the beginning, especially. He just sings it with such a confidence, and it's like like yeah, I'm gonna take good care of my feet now. Like it's so much better. Really, I mean, I really like the studio version. I like these these. It has a lot of these sound effects, and production wise, it's great. But this live version just really knocks it out of the park. I think it's so great, and I wish Carl sang the whole thing here with his great '90s voice. But yeah, it's a fun tune. It's humorous. I really love it. I always loved it, but it's out of place on Surf's Up really. So yeah. But then we have Long Promised Road live from '72, which is great. We'll talk a little bit more about that track later, but yeah, it's great. Rocks really, really nicely. And Disney Girls live from '82. Once again, really great. A different, completely different type of track, and maybe a little bit out of place on Surf's Up. But I always loved it. It's really, I would call it a masterpiece. It's Bruce Johnston's masterpiece. Really, it's a really beautiful and touching lyric, and the melody and the whole mood on that track is it's really special. The name of the song is maybe a little bit misleading because it makes probably people who don't know the song think about like California Girls or something. So, but anyway, then we have Surf's Up live from '73, which is really amazing, and hearing it crystal clear here with those amazing guitar licks and percussions and everything. It's blows me away how well they were able to pull off this stuff live around this time period. It's really just perfection, and yeah, it's because that track is not an easy tune to pull off live. So the way it's handled here, when nobody like is screwing up, it's completely just pure perfection. And to hear it so clear like it was recorded yesterday is amazing. Definitely a highlight on this box set, for me at least. And then we have Student Demonstration Time from '71 live over here. And a few words now about this track. I mentioned earlier we have the Riot in Cell Block number 9 from the previous year, from 1970, on the Sunflower live set over here on disc 1, and then we have here the Student Demonstration Time, which is the same song with different lyrics by Mike. And we have also here the backing track of Student Demonstration Time, and I'm gonna talk about that one as well at this point. I completely can get behind the idea of taking this old song and putting it into your shows and set lists, and I even get what Mike was trying to do with the lyrics, with the new lyrics, and I completely dig it. But there is this one part in the Mike written lyrics which bugs me, which is when there's a riot you best stay out of sight or something. So it's kind of weird to me because it's a protest song telling you should stay home, don't protest. It's kind of just, it bugs me really bad. And hearing the live versions with both lyrics, and then hearing the backing track, which is really great, rocks really hard, makes me just really like wish that they had just done it with the original lyrics. There's some really nice parts in the Mike's version, like which I really love. Some touches and things, little pieces. But then overall, if you take like the backing track that they did for student demonstration time, and then put like, for example, Dennis singing the original lyrics of Riot in Cell Block Number 9 on top of that backing track, well, that's like a classic tune over there. And I have nothing against Mike, he's a great singer, but I just think him singing it with his new lyrics, it just doesn't work that well. Like, I always loved the backing track, and especially now that you can hear it like in crystal clear quality with those siren sound effects, kind of just put in a little bit lower in the mix, so they're not like up front right in your face. To me, the track is kind of like this big opportunity that they just barely like touched. They almost had it, but kinda it slipped away. So yeah, but that's my take on it. Anyway, I enjoy the song, but yeah, Help is on the way. I really love this one. It's such a fun track. Basically like just a commercial for Radiant Radish, the health food store by that Brian started around this time period. So it's a fun song, and it fits well with Take a Load Off Your Feet. So I kind of almost wish that they'd done like a separate album with these health related songs, because they had this thing going. And yeah, it's a fun song. And then we have Sweet and Bitter, which I have never heard this like this Beach Boys version, this unstripped version. This Don, is it Don Goldberg? I have to actually check it out. Then I'm not like remembering this wrong, but anyway, it's written. The song is written by this guy who. Where is it? Where is it? Disc 2. Don Goldberg, yes. And he kept the tape. Beach Boys didn't ever finish it, their version. Mike is singing the lead here. And then there's been on YouTube and internet floating this version with Don. I believe Don like added some instruments like drums and stuff on top of it, and the song itself is great. I've never heard this unstripped version, as I said before, and I love the vocal delivery by Mike. It's very un-Beach Boysy song. Maybe that's why I like it, because it's very much different from their usual style. I love the acoustic guitars on it. And the mood, it has like a dark mood almost. It's very interesting stuff, and makes me feel or wish that they actually had finished it. It really had some potential, I believe. But yeah, then we have My Solution, finally a clear version of this once again by the songwriting genius Brian Wilson, masterpiece track, which is super creepy. It's fun. I mean, it's made as this joke, at least the vocal take, the spoken word by Brian. But the music itself is really interesting, and it sounds nothing, at least to me, nothing like the stuff from this era in general. It almost sounds like late 80s synth music, something super experimental or weird. So yeah, I really like this tune a lot, and I appreciate the backing track, which we actually have over here later by itself. Then we have 4th of July, which is a little bit murky, muddy. recording, kind of like a demo, but probably is a demo. That's why it wasn't released properly ever. I love the tag. I was never like the biggest fan of this track, but the end part, the instrumental part at the end with the, I guess this like flute or something. It's so beautiful. Some of this stuff is, especially the stuff that Dennis did, and Brian as well, but during this time period, the tracks that Dennis was doing, it's so great to have them released finally over here. But at the same time, they always kind of make me a little bit sad because, excluding Wouldn't It Be Nice to Live Again, they all have something going on, but they are so unfinished that it just makes me sad that, oh man, what could have been really if this stuff was like actually finished at its time, you know. Because for example, we have on the disc 4, I know I'm going all over the place, but we have on disc 4 the track Baby Baby, which is like a completely stupid, silly little rocker where Dennis is just goofing off with the vocal take. But it's actually like there's like a great idea behind it. It's so groovy and it rocks really hard, really. It's like, there's really something going on. That could have been a great tune for the Beach Boys around this time period. I completely love it. It makes me smile, makes me a little bit laugh, and yeah, I just wish that there was more to it. But anyway, let's continue. Then we have Sound of Free, which I love. I've talked about it previously as well, but it's one of those rare examples of Dennis and Mike working together on a song, like songwriting level. And it's kind of funny actually. All the stuff that they did together is excellent. Really, like, it's really great. So I don't know what that was about, but they wrote together really great songs, and Sound of Free is one of the best that they did. Lady Falling in Love, yeah, that's another Dennis track, and this is a very much different mix than the one that was on Made in California, which had that reverbish effect on the whole vocal take. Here we have at the start just the pure, like no reverb, nothing on the vocal, and then it fades into more reverbish. The melody is very beautiful, and I love the production on it. It's very moody. So, and I love the drum machine idea. It's really interesting. Seasons in the Sun ends up disc 2, and I'm not the biggest fan of this track. The cover that the Beach Boys do over here is great. There's nothing wrong with it. Carsing's really exceptionally good once again, but I never just enjoyed the song. I don't know why, but I just never really was a fan of this song. Sometimes I hear it on like a nostalgia radio, some version of it anyway, and I just always go like, this song again. I don't know what it is, but I never liked it that much. Then we go to disc 3, and there we start to have a lot of these backing vocal tracks and instrumental tracks. And the disc 3 is compiled of the Sunflower stuff, so it's great to hear these backing tracks because it makes me appreciate the songs in a different way. I talked about this previously as well, but we don't really like need to hear everything separated, and especially not with every rock group that there has been. But with the Beach Boys, I think the Beach Boys is an exception really, because their backing tracks and then their like vocal tracks on top of the backing tracks are a lot of ways very different, and they have so much going on in the backing vocals and everything really, that when you, for example, when you take the lead vocal out of Forever and just leave the backing vocals and the instrumental track, it creates not a different kind of feeling, but maybe a little bit like what's the word? Sublime? I'm not sure if that's a word. It creates like an otherworldly. That's a really bad word to describe it, but nothing other comes to my mind. It just creates this otherworldly feeling when you take the words out of it, and it becomes like this pure. It's soft, and the harmonies, everything. It just creates a mood. And when you add the lead vocal on top of everything, you have like a pop song. When you take that lead vocal out, you're left with this like a spiritual, like this. I'm not like a religious guy, but you are kind of like left with this like this praying or like this praying music, like this, what you call that, like meditative, not ambient, but like almost like ambient type of stuff. It's really unique how it works here, especially with some of the Sunflower ballads. All I Wanna Do, for example, with just the, like, you listen to that separately, All I Wanna Do, or the backing track, and then the vocals, harmonies, everything, and it's like, wow, that's, to me it blows. I mean, I'm just wordless, so I'm sorry if I'm like kind of, my thought is going all over the place, and I'm not probably explaining myself that clearly. But yesterday when I was listening to this stuff and listening to something like All I Wanna Do over here, I started to think like, hey, this is like bunch of guys who had basically no musical education, like no proper education to this stuff, doing this music at their home. And it blows my mind really to think that and listen to the stuff, and it's like some of the greatest music that people have put on a record, or sounds I should say probably, and it just blows my mind because it's so unique, it's so beautiful, touching, moving, and just perfect. Like, it's not like, it doesn't sound amateurish, you know. So it sounds like so professional, but not like perfect in a way like something like Eagles or you know, whatever. So it's just mind-blowing experience really to listen to this stuff. So I could like praise everything here separately, but I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit because this is gonna be otherwise so long video. One thing that was really interesting to me was to got to know the woman's lead vocal, just a cappella, by Dennis. And that's something I never thought I wanted to hear, because it's kind of like a throwaway track in a way, you know, compared to something like Forever. But to hear that confidence and that strength and power of Dennis' voice around this time period on this a cappella version. But it's really interesting to hear these a cappella vocals, especially like these ones that are more like rockers, like for example Got to Know the Woman over here, and Long Promised Road on Surf's Up by Carl Wilson. And there's a pretty interesting thing going on with Long Promised Road, which I never like heard on the actual released track, but here that you can actually hear all the nuances in Carl's voice you can hear this insecurity, especially like at the beginning. To me, it sounds almost like he's afraid of singing. He's like the first song that he wrote, and he's doing his own thing the first time, really like fully. It sounds like he's like a little bit afraid of that. I know there's also the point that he's like getting into the song, and the song is about these these things about like getting through your obstacles and stuff like that. But they just had Dennis, Carl, everybody. They had this wonderful, exceptionally great way of singing with emotion, which is something I think is lacking a lot of times these days, when there's a lot of really great singers, but I don't know, to me the emotion is everything, and hearing that confidence in the lead vocal take when I got to know the woman, or the insecurity on Long Promised Road, is just that's really what makes the song so great. It's the emotion behind the voices and the sounds. So anyway, where were we? Yeah, well, there's just so much amazing little things. One of the funniest parts for me was Looking at Tomorrow, where you have that intro where Al is like screwing up with the guitar part. He's like, take 11, take 12, and Carney screamed. It's so funny. And I'm actually kind of disappointed that we don't have that much of stuff with this track, because I think it's an underrated track, and I love the live version that they did in the 80s, which rocks so hard. It starts with this dun dun. It's just so killer. Dun dun. It's like, it sounds like Queen or something. It's so great. So I kind of just I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get that on here. But I don't know if there exists like a good enough recording of it. I hope there is, but I don't know. Then A Day in the Life of a Tree, with just the instrumental track and backing vocals. I never heard that there actually was like guitars on it, so it's really great to hear after the great organ part at the beginning, when it kind of just goes down a little bit and we hear all these bird noises and all these nature sounds, and then there's actually like these guitar chords going on, which are really beautiful. So yeah, it's one of my favorite tracks off of Surf's Up. I really love this version. And by the way, I have to mention the alternate lyrics to Till I Die, which are finally released over here with like Brian singing like if it floats me up, or and then there was this I found my way. Like it doesn't work at all, and I'm so glad that he ditched it, because yeah, it just don't work at all. It is supposed to be a dark track, and yep. But hearing that long version with that longer intro and everything, that's great. And then Wouldn't It Be Nice to Live Again, with the extended flute solo at the end, is really amazing. Probably like my favorite thing off of the first 4 discs. And yeah, that's a huge missed opportunity for the band to not release that as part of Surf's Up. And I guess it was Dennis' choice eventually. But man, I just wish that the other guys would have like encouraged him more, encouraged him to go for it, and just like putting this up there, because it's one of the best Beach Boys tracks in general, in my opinion. I know that's a pretty big statement, but especially with the extended solo at the end, or that almost like a big jam, it's something that would have worked so well around that time with the general music audiences. At least that's what I feel like. and it would have been a perfect fit mood-wise on Surf's Up, much more perfect than Take a Load Off Your Feet, for example, which I love. But yeah, it's a huge missed opportunity. It's great to have it here finally, but yeah, at the same time it's a little bit like, there's a little bit of sadness to it also. This is what I meant. It's gonna be a long video, even though I'm fast forwarding this stuff, but still, we are almost there. The bonus tracks. I Just Got My Pay. This is such a cool track. I love it. It's so funny, and I love the alarm clock thing, which is so genius how it goes from in this stereo soundscape. The lyrics, everything works really well. I love the production, and I really love, around this time, the Surf's Up period, they started to go more into this production style where they would have an analog synthesizer. A lot of times it was like a bassy thing going, and then you have these acoustic instruments like guitars or banjos or stuff like that, percussion. And I really love that soundscape that it builds. You have a lot of that on Holland as well, and then it goes even further on 15 Big Ones and Love You. But this is kind of like the start of it, which is really great to hear. For example, on I Just Got My Pay, because there is that synth thing going on, and there's something about it that speaks to me. That weird combo of analog synthesizer sounds and acoustic instruments. Walking, When Girls Get Together, Baby Baby, Awake, It's a New Day. Well, I already talked about Baby Baby. When Girls Get Together is not one of my favorite tracks. We'll talk more probably about it later when we get to Keeping the Summer Alive on the album review series. Walking is an interesting track because it's not bad. I can hear that there's like a decent song there, but it's not mind-blowing. I can understand why it was shelved. But yeah, it's a fun track, but yeah, like I said, it's not mind-blowing, but it's a fun listen. Awake, which is a really great vocal by Brian, and it's one of these last times when you could hear that classic voice before the big changes, and that could have been a great tune with a full-fleshed production, because the vocal take is just it is phenomenal, really. And It's a New Day ends up the disc 4, and it's a track by Dennis, sang by Blondie, and Blondie was super young around this time period, and it's one of the first things I believe that he actually recorded with this group, and I completely can see it in a commercial. It was written for a commercial, and I can completely see that, but it's not like commercial, like in a bad way. It's a really great rocker and catchy, and I really like the way Dennis's and Blondie's voices sound very similar around this time period, which is interesting because they are not related in any way, but they sound very similar. They have this same type of energy and same type of texture in their sounds. So it's great to hear Blondie singing this track. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's my review of the first 4 discs of Field Flows. Completely enjoy it, and even if the set was only consisting of the 4 discs, I think it would definitely be worth of anybody's money. Anybody who is a human or is touched by music in some way should hear these tunes. I wish that I had more people in my life that would appreciate and understand this stuff. I've always been like this oddball, this outsider. Nobody that I've known has been into the Beach Boys, at least not as much as I am or have been. So it's kind of sad that I can't really enjoy it with anybody in my life, but that's why I'm making these videos, because I love to hear your stories and read your comments, because yeah, that's there's like this connection thing, and I like that. And I've always tried to introduce this music to new people and people in my life, and I've gotten maybe a few dozen people into or to know about the Beach Boys. I'm not sure if I've been able to turn them into fans, but at least I've been able to educate them. So that's great, and I hope that by making these videos, more and more people would be able to be introduced to this music, because I sincerely think it's some of the greatest sounds that people have put to a record. So it most definitely is worth of checking out for anybody. What do you think? What have you thought about the Feel Flows box set? Have you been satisfied? And what are your thoughts about the track listing? What are your favorites? What are your least favorites? I would love to read all that stuff in the comment section. So anyway, hey, thanks for watching. This is getting way too long right now, so let's continue with the part 2 at some point when I've had enough time to listen and completely soaked into, the last disc. So we'll see with that one hopefully soon. Take care. Bye bye.